Say we are the first person in the growth org at a company, as hypothetically speaking, someone actually hired me. What should they be? How should they do it? What tests should we run? What advice do you have for that as the first growth person in an org?
This has been the niche that I have found myself in my career, and it's something that I truly love and enjoy doing. And so I have a couple of different things that I think are really important. I mean, early on in the kind of journey of a growth leader at a company, I think there are a couple of things that should really happen. First, I think that growth leader should go through the customer journey from discovering the product and becoming an active customer. Go through it like a customer would, kind of end to end, take screenshots at every step, aggregate that, and share that back with the team. 99% of the time that I've done this, I found that the team hasn't actually looked at that experience in a while because it gets lost in the changes. And so taking kind of a fresh set of eyes at this problem is something that is kind of really important for setting a good foundation. The second thing is I think there are a couple of analyses that are really critical to run. First, I think you have to understand where your users come from and how has that changed over time. That can give you an insight into what are the dynamics that are driving growth of this business. Second, I think you have to think about what's the funnel from someone showing intent to becoming an active customer. Where are the drop-off points? What are the friction points? What's working and what is not working? And then finally, this thing that we've kind of briefly talked about, but what are the key actions that lead someone to becoming highly active? Is there kind of people that become successful, and what did they do early on in their life stage that made it so that they become successful? And so that's kind of the maybe foundation of understanding. Then I think as a growth leader, one of the things you have to do is you just have to try to ship something. I think it's important to think about, what is the process of going from an idea to actually implementing something? Who's willing to step up? What are the friction points? What is kind of the engineering systems that are involved with that, or kind of the business processes that exist around that? And so you kind of have to start from a place of curiosity, but then quickly shift into being someone who gets something done and trying to understand, how can we do that in a repeatable motion?
I totally get you. Can I ask you, in terms of building the team around us, you said before we kind of jumped to hiring this full growth team, you said that building with the minimum number of people possible is actually maybe better. Why do you think it may be better to have less people, and what are the advantages of that leaner team?
I mean, I think at some level, I strongly believe in the principle of Metcalfe's law. And for those of you who aren't aware, the Metcalfe's law is the notion of, in a communication system, the number of nodes in a communication system mean that the complexity and the value of that communication system grows exponentially. And so when you think about that, if you have a huge team, it is more complex to get anything done because you're having to coordinate across a bunch of people. And so the thing that I look for is there, 1 to 4 people that can get something done, and trying to keep things as small as possible to iterate as quick as possible, keep the communication loops tight, keep the alignment tight, and it helps prioritize. It helps you think about what is the most important thing to do and how can we go execute on that very quickly. And so I usually start very small, and as you start to do that kind of explore then exploit mindset, that is kind of the fundamental principle of Explore. But at some point you do need to scale it up, and you need to start adding more resources to help kind of take things bigger. But that has to come from something that's working, much like, a product has to actually be working before you bring in a growth team. I think a growth team has to be working before you kind of scale a growth team as well.